Love them or hate them, unplugged ceremonies aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But I've got a little bit of bad news for those that are really wanting to implement this at their wedding. People don't really read the signs anymore. In fact, they probably haven't been reading them for quite some time now. They're so used to seeing it that they're like, oh, that's just a courtesy, right? Wrong. But luckily, some people started to get a little bit creative with this, and the officiants are taking on the audience members. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Jamie. I'm your online wedding planner, and I'm here to help you plan easy, stress less, because you deserve a stress-free wedding day. And today, we're going to be reacting to some TikTok officiants on TikTok. Because we love us a reaction video. So what are these officiants doing, you say? Well, they are coming out at the beginning of the ceremony, either before the couple comes out or after the couple's already there, and making some into the mic announcements to make sure people don't pull out their phones, their DSLRs, or God forbid, their iPads. I'll say it every time because it was really scarring, okay? An iPad. And here's one of them. Let's take a look.
Now, before we officially get started, I see some issues already. So this is an unplugged ceremony. So what that means is no phones. They hired professionals so that they can capture these moments and you guys can enjoy them. Remember, every person here was invited because they mean something to these two, and they want you to view this once in a lifetime with your eyes and not through a screen. So we're not being rude. This is for your memories. But I understand every person here needs a social media post. So bridal party, everybody posts. You can get your phones out for now. I'll give you one photo pass. So everybody, come on. Get your phones out. Get your photos. Get it now because there's no other opportunity. And now can you two face me real quick? There we go. That was perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Brilliant. Perfect. No notes. No notes, okay? This guy handled it magnificently. He played it off being a little silly, gave a quick shout out to the photo team to let everybody know that, like, hey, they're being paid lots of dollars. Don't get in their way. Please and thank you. But also provided something that we in the biz called a social media minute. And honestly, if you're going to have your officiant announce it, you want to add a lot of this in there. A lot of levity, make it kind of fun, but also make the point really, really clear. Now, the only suggestion I might make is if you really want to make sure this is completely unplugged, no cell phones, nothing coming out, you might want to tell your guests before the ceremony even begins. Here's an example lap.
So look, if you want to clap and cheer and be excited, you should probably do that. You want to cry this thing out, Mike's going to lose it. That's going to be great. But they certainly want you to enjoy every moment of them getting married. If you've got a phone or a camera or anything, you can toss that thing out immediately. They have an incredible photo video team who will capture absolutely everything. And their stuff is going to be, it's going to be so much better than yours. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much better.
Perfect. Perfect. I mean, it's such a great way. Again, we're adding levity to this because a lot of people feel as though, and we've talked about this in videos before, they feel as though they're entitled to break the rules that you've established at your wedding. Famous story, I tell it all the time. One time when we were doing a backyard wedding at someone's house, at the bride's parents' house, someone came into the home and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. They've asked that no guests come into the home. And this gal was like, it's okay. I know the bride. And I'm like, that's great. That's why you're here. But you can't be here. You need to be out there here. Like they still told us, like you wouldn't be invited if you didn't know somebody important here. But they've also told us to make sure that we're keeping everybody outside. So there's a lot of people who will kind of have this idea of like, oh, well, but I'm the grandmother. You know, like I get they don't want a bunch of cell phones in the way, but I should be allowed, right? It'd be okay if I did it. But when we kind of really put it out there before you even come down the aisle, then we're lessening the chances of that happening astronomically. Now, those are some great examples for how to do this. And I was told to record myself while watching this one. So I'm excited. I don't know about you.
Now, before we get to that moment, let's prepare ourselves with a couple of things. First, take out your cell phone and your tissue. You want to set your cell phone to silent and keep those tissues handy. Connor and Jenny are requesting that we honor their wishes for an unplugged ceremony. That means no phones at all in any capacity. If you are one of those people that just cannot keep your hands off your cell phone, I have an easy solution. You bring it up to me, I turn around, I fire it in the bush, and then it's okay, right? You can't find it. Their hope is that at the end of today's ceremony, you will have a full heart and an empty camera roll. With that in mind, anyone that has to use the washroom, you've totally blown it. No one can move because our ceremony is about to begin. Now, before we get to that,
I know we were going for funny. I feel like we work maybe just a teensy bit. There is a polite way of handling this. We've already seen a couple examples of it, and I really don't feel like this was it. Maybe he really was striving for humor. Maybe the entire crowd knows him, right? And everyone knows that his humor is very dry. But I don't think that threatening to throw people's personal property into bushes is the right way to go about doing this. Let's take the script from some of the other ones we've taken a look at, because those seem a lot kinder, a lot more logical. Right? Because one thing that's been coming up a lot on the channel is like when couples have pretty rigid rules is sometimes as a guest, it can kind of feel like you're being treated like a child. And while sometimes that's warranted, coming from a wedding planner and a parent, you know, I see the similarities is all I'm saying. Assuming that all of your guests are dodos and need to have it broken down for them Barney style and then speaking to them in this manner, I personally don't think it's going to start your event off on the right foot. But what do I know? Well, that put me in a bad mood. Let's go ahead and take a look at another one. Hope for the best.
We promise you that there will not be a special moment missed. That being said, we understand that you heathens lack impulse control, so in order to feed those inner demons, please let's take the next 30 seconds to whip out those devices and take as many photos as you can before we actually start this thing. Jess and Chris.
Glorious. I mean, I might have chosen different phrasing, but she got the job done. Social media minute. This is great.
If you wouldn't mind putting on a bit of a show for the people. All right, everybody got their phones out? All right, you get 30 whole seconds. Ready?
Great.
Go. All right, you're in love. Oh, my speech is fantastic. Oh, look at how beautiful they are, gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. Oh, pretend vows. Pretend you're doing vows right now. Okay, now rings, rings. You're putting fake rings on each other's fingers.
Great.
That's fine. Okay, something hilarious happened. Okay, share a look with your grooms and your brides people. Some like loving thing happened. It's a lovely day. Now point to your parents. All right, some fun.
Great.
All right, it's over. All right, put your shit away.
I mean, aside from, you know, the bit of language and phrasing, it's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. And here's what I love about how this particular officiant handled it. Is she really encouraged the couple to pose, and she brought that energy up. She took a moment where a lot of people could feel chastised, you know, kind of like the one that we just looked at, where they feel like they were being swatted before their hands even got close to the cookie jar. Here's a completely different approach where we're like, let's play, let's have fun with it. And that sets the tone and the vibe for the rest of your event. That's like the amuse-bouche for your guests. That here's what you have to expect for the rest of our day.
I want to be a bride who asks my guests to put their phone in a basket for the ceremony. What do you think? How can I enforce that?
No.
I don't think you can do that.
I was about to be like, Meredith, please be with me on this one. No, you can't do that. Like, as much as you want to, we actually literally had a bride that wanted everyone to check their phones in at like a station. And I was like, no, I don't think we can enforce that.
Typically, rule of thumb, if you want your guests to enjoy your wedding, we don't want to treat them like a bunch of high schoolers. But I do fully respect the dedication to wanting to have an unplugged ceremony, and it's good and important to enforce those boundaries. So here's how we're going to do it instead. You know, we can do all of the preventative stuff. We can write a little blurb on the wedding website. We can have the unplugged ceremony sign at the back of the aisle. But like, people are either going to read that or they're not, or they're going to register it and follow it, or they're not. There's definitely the difference between communication attempted and message received, you know? The most effective way to do this is going to be like when your officiant does the pre-ceremony announcements. Example of that might look like, welcome, thanks for joining us today. The ceremony will begin shortly. Immediately following the ceremony, please join us at blah, blah, blah for cocktail hour information, blah, blah, blah. We invite guests to now please silence their phones. Please keep them in their pockets for the duration of the ceremony. Usually the officiant announcement where they say, please take this moment to turn off your phones, that'll handle like 98% of the offenders. So then really it comes down to that final 2% who just, they don't give an F about nothing. They think the rules don't apply to them. They think they're somehow exempt from the unplugged ceremony.
I'm telling you, there's like a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. Even if you say it out loud, even if you have signs, people will be like, it's okay. I know the bride. I'm allowed to do this. It's okay.
So then we're going to address that in a twofold manner, a proactive approach and a reactive approach. The proactive approach, I bet you could tell me right now who your 2%ers are, who's most likely to be your cell phone offender.
I can tell you right now, if it was before my wedding, I know exactly who it would have been. It would have been my Nana. She has since passed, God rest her soul, but she would have been the one. She would have been the one. And if you think about it, if you think about your family, you're like, yeah, I have a feeling I know who that would be. Right?
So we're going to assign that person a cell phone guardian, if you will. Just think about who will be sitting near that person for the ceremony, who you can pull aside, have a conversation with prior to wedding day and be like, hey, Aunt Judy, can you make sure your husband keeps his phone away for the ceremony? Just think about who's going to be on your team that can help wrangle the situation silently from the sidelines. You don't need to put their phone in a basket to allow them entry into the ceremony. That might be overkill, but you can basically just put someone in charge of that person. And then of course for the reactive approach, let's say nothing is working and we see someone make some attempts to pull out their phone for the ceremony. And then for the reactive approach, that's when your planner, your coordinator, your photographer, your venue manager, we have no problem, pulling somebody aside. And of course, we're going to do this as quietly, as respectfully as we possibly can, but it might just look as a gentle, hand on the shoulder of, hey, I need to ask you to sit down. Sometimes just a stern eyeballs and a, give them the kindergarten glance from across the room. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am absolutely a big advocate of setting and enforcing boundaries, and I full-heartedly believe that bad behavior has consequences. But usually clear communication and a proactive approach is more than enough for guests to willingly comply. I don't think we need to go full-blown cell phone basket.
I absolutely adore Meredith. If you are on TikTok and you're not following her, you need to absolutely go follow her. She's +1 planning. And I agree with her on 98% of this. The only part that I disagree with is it is very difficult to capture the attention of that one person who's trying to sneak in a photo or two without being disruptive yourself. So oftentimes, if you're going to try to make eye contact with them or get their attention somehow, that means you need to be at the front where the couple is to try to get their attention, or walk down the aisle and tap them on the shoulder, which obviously if there's movement down the aisle, it's going to draw some eyeballs towards it, right? Now, of course, if the person is standing up to take these photos, that's a different story. But if someone's just sneak a little blip, blip, like a blip, blip off to the side, then it's a lot harder to enforce in moments like this. That's usually when, ideally, if the photographer is like somewhere in that vicinity, they'll move further up to the altar so they can kind of crop that person out of the photo, right? They're not even within range, and hopefully by the time that person's done, the photographer can take a step back. It is a little difficult, but also if the photographer's right there, they can tap them on the shoulder and be like, gentle reminder, like, hey, I'm sorry, just as a reminder, it's an unplugged ceremony, and then keep shooting, right? If they feel comfortable doing so. So again, Meredith gives incredible advice. I highly recommend that you go follow her. I just feel like sometimes in those situations, it's just not a hill that I will die on if they're only going to sneak in a photo or two. Wedding Officiant announcing that the ceremony will be unplugged. Aunt Karen with iPad in hand.
But is it against the law, though?
Seatbelt sign.
But is it against the law?
Seatbelt sign is on.
But is it against the law?
Seatbelt sign.
But is it against the law?
It's on.
Law.
Seatbelt sign is on.
Legal.
Seatbelt sign is on.
Lawful.
Seatbelt sign.
It's why is it the iPads? So they can like see better because they got a really big screen. I'm telling you, it's a thing. If you haven't been to weddings in the last 5 years, oh my gosh. It's okay. I know the bride. It's okay. I know the bride. It's okay. It's okay. I know the bride.
So if your phone is out during the wedding ceremony, I'm going to be turning it into a ham sandwich. Phone sandwich. This is just my new protocol moving forward.
Yes, but what will we turn the iPad into? A whole pizza. You just out there with the iPad. Wait. Hold on. Out there with the iPad, just clicking away. Just turn it into a whole pizza. Oh, that's funny. Oh. And last but most certainly not least,
A selfie. Here we go.
hold on.
And you're gonna take that and you're gonna send that to the couple, okay? That way they have something to remember your beautiful face with. All right? Then
Cute. Wait, I'm obsessed. This is probably my favorite one yet because how often the couples want FaceTime with you on their wedding day, but honestly the day gets really hectic and really busy and sometimes it's hard to pull that off. So to do this and have everyone take a selfie and send it that's adorable.
once we're done, I want you to take that phone and shove it as far away as you possibly can. All right? Put your phones on silent, shove them deep in
Perfect.
pockets, put them in a bag, whatever you need to do. We're going to have what's called an unplugged ceremony today.
Wait, he's making all these announcements with the family standing right there ready to start the ceremony. They're just like, da, 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 da. Oh, okay. We'll just, I mean, they're right there. I wonder if the bride's anywhere close. Oh.
We have a videographer, a photographer that'll take the photos. That way everyone can be present and engaged and celebrate this beautiful couple. All right. And once we have all that done, everybody ready? I say we get this started.
Moral of the story, if you'd like to have an unplugged ceremony, the sign's probably not going to cut it. As Meredith said, you can do all the proactive stuff beforehand, throw it on your website. You can have signs up. You can even have an interview program if you have programs available. But the best way to make sure everyone hears and knows and understands it, you need to make sure that either your officiant says it before your ceremony and or right after you walk down the aisle, but you do risk that one little time frame of people taking photos, or you can have your DJ make that announcement before your event even begins. In case your officiant is involved in the processional for some reason, maybe it's a sibling, it's a friend, it's a loved one that's walking down as a part, like with the music. So you can have your DJ make that announcement for you instead. So how about you? Are you team unplugged, team plugged, team, I'm going to say unplugged, but if a couple people take a couple photos, I'm not going to be too ticked about it. Where do you land on this scale? I personally am a huge fan of unplugged weddings. However, I also see the only reason that guests want to take photos is because they're really excited and they want to capture your day. And you did a really good job picking out your outfit. And you look really pretty. And those flowers are perfect. They're everything you wanted them to be. So I try to give a little bit of grace to the guests. I'm not going to be throwing anyone's phone in a basket or into a bush. But if I had it my way, we wouldn't need to edit in any ham sandwiches. So that's what we have for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, jump on down there, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. And until next week, bye, guys.